And welcome back to Generation Nexxt, Youth Sports Network. Hey, I'm here with Dr. Gupta of SOC, Specialty Orthopedic Center. And also, Corey, besides being involved in the track, you're also involved with SOC and supporting the things of making sure the kids stay healthy. And we'll talk about those things right now. And starting off with you, Manish, let's talk about your involvement this weekend. You had an exciting weekend at the Coaches Clinic on Friday night. Let's talk about how you really kind of gave these guys a little bit of knowledge, how to keep the kids healthy, things about soft tissue, which is really involved in track and field and a lot of athletics. So give us a little information about the exciting weekend you had so far.
Well, yeah, it was great actually to be out here, and even though it's hot out here, I got to be inside and giving a little bit of a lecture and some tips to some of these coaches. And the one thing we really talked about was that we want to keep youths in the game. I mean, it's very important for these youths to be able to take their careers to the next level, and they can't do that if they're not properly taken care of. And one of the first things is that the coaches have to have a good communication with their players, with their people who are participating, and listen to their bodies and listen to them when they're not feeling good or when they're not feeling right, and then getting the doctors involved when they need to.
Well, and as an athlete, sometimes we want to push it beyond what we know isn't good for our bodies. Just because our ego, we don't want to miss a race. And sometimes in a football point of view, you don't want to lose your spot, your starting spot.
Exactly.
And a lot of times you're hurt, but you'll ignore that and you try to push it. What's the dangers involved in that, Corey?
Well, a lot of times in terms of just muscle tears, there's a difference between a tear and a strain. So you can really and truly push it to the limit. I mean, sometimes just taking a couple of weeks off is good because you'll come back much stronger. But you have acute injuries and you have chronic injuries. Injuries that you let linger on time after time turn into chronic injuries. And those are the things that, take away from your performance. An acute injury is something that you can treat, give it a little time, and then you'll come back. But a lot of people, because of fear of losing their spot or not going out and competing well at a big event or whatever the case may be, these injuries turn into chronic injuries that take away from their performance in the long run.
Well, and let's clear up this last thing, and I'll start with you before we leave out of here. SOC and doctors in general are not just for the injured athlete. Let's talk about making sure that we check in to have peak performance, and you can get that peak performance to make sure that everything's intact, that your muscle's at 100%. How does SOC support that theory?
The reason and the way we do that is by the way I educate myself. First of all, I need to be aware of what's out there and what's the best for the athletes. Mm-hmm. And then the next step is listening to our coaches like Corey, who come in and who are training athletes and coaching them. They're working them from a technique standpoint, and I'm working with them, listening to them to take them there from a physical standpoint. So it's a very much a balanced act that we're doing. We're listening to each other to make sure that the kids are getting out and doing what they need to do safely. Would you agree with me, Corey?
That's right. It's a total care package. I feel that coaches and everyone has to know their lane. My limitations in terms of are really and truly pushing the athletes to the limit, putting them in the best possible position to be successful. Now, if an injury arises for whatever reason, I want to make sure that I send them to the best possible individual that's going to take care of that injury, and that's where Dr. Gupta comes in, and he's done a phenomenal job with the athletes in which I've had. But you got to make sure that you really and truly send them to people who know the business and know what they're doing. So,
well, that's what we call 360-degree care. You're getting it from a coach's standpoint, pushing to the limit and getting the best athletic performance from the athlete, and then getting the medical care. And that's complete from beginning to end. And you'll see that here, and you'll have continued coverage as we go out through the season with SOC. Dr. Manish Gupta, you'll see him at all the different games. If you see, stop on by the booth, give him a holler or give him a call, and you'll see that information right here on Generation Nexxt at SOC. And also, Coach Corey, you'll be involved as well. It's training these kids. And like I said, if you have a kid up in the West Palm Beach, Coral Springs area, F.I.N.E.S.S.E is definitely the place to go. Not just from track, football as well. SOC, F.I.N.E.S.S E, Generation Nexxt, doing big things for the next generation.